Welcome to Retro Skill Modelling. This is part 2 of the Scania R620 Topline build. In the first part we started putting the sash together and the engine block. So the next part is going to be finishing off that process. So let's get into it. So first of all, I'm jumping right onto the wheels, and as you can see, these are chrome. Now I hate using chrome. A lot of modelers do. Now a few people strip the chrome back and take it back to plastic. You can do that with paint filler thinners, or things like Dettol works as well. You just soak it in a bath of Dettol and the chrome will come off. But for this build I'm going to leave them on, because it does look better on the truck than with it just painted on. Now the reason why a lot of people hate the chrome is because you're always left with a little bit of spot that's been unchromed because it's on the tree of the sprue. Or you have to, like you see me doing here, scraping off the chrome so the paint the glue can adhere to it. This has got to be done very carefully. There's no ifs, buts about it. When you take them off the sprue, make sure your size cutters are hard against the object before you cut, and then use your knife to take the main burr off, then gently sand down with a thin, with a small grade sanding paper. It's the only way to do it. Then once you've done all that, you've scraped it off the paint, the area that you're going to paint on, put your glue on. Again, minimum amount. I tried using Tamiya's thin glue for this. It didn't quite work, or I didn't give it enough time to settle one of the two, so I went back to the Revell contract glue. Excuse me. So that's the basis of the chrome, and once they're all built, it was time to put on the tyres. And the tyres themselves are easy enough to put on. They just pop on to the rim and then done. They don't need any glue or anything like that. Onto the main axles and dry shaft, and again these were painted in, the dry shaft was painted in Aquacolor Steel 91, and with the tips brackets being painted in Tamiya Dark Iron XF84. The exhaust brackets were painted in the steel 91, and the main part of the exhaust was painted in aluminium 99. Onto the number plate holder, it was painted in Aquacolor 99 aluminium, and then the decal was just slid on. Now there's different options on the decals for different countries. Obviously I live in the UK, so I chosen GB. Just remember, there's only two decals for the number plates, one for the rear, one for the back. The other side of the number plate is just the Scania plaque. Make sure that you put them on the right way around. So in the UK, right hand drive, so they go on the right hand side. European, left hand drive, go on the left side. The mudguards were painted in flat black 08, then the decal was applied. Onto the first clear parts then. These are for the tail lights. They're painted in Aquacolors orange number 30, Italian red number 34, and silver number 90. And these are just painting the little bands of lights that go on the tail lights. Make sure that you paint them in the right order. It does show you in the instructions how they're going to go, but paint one end the opposite, and then once the wheels are made up, it's time to put the main drive shaft actually in. Now it appears it's a little bit long than it needs to be, but it does push in slightly to fit into the brackets. Then you can just manoeuvre it back into position. And the first toolbox and footplate going on. The connection points for these are tight, so just firmly push them in and you should be able to get them in. If you can't get them in, just open them up slightly with your hobby knife. And once you've got your footplate in place, it's time to put in the exhaust. Again, the connections have to be fairly spot on here, but they do slip in quite easily, and the good guide is the side bracket. But make sure the side bracket goes in straight. If it's not in straight, when you put in your fuel tank near the end of this part of the build, you may have difficulty. Moving on to the back of the unit now, you may have noticed that I've already painted the mudguards. I used Halford's Ford Highland Green spray paint for this, only because I had some bits of spray paint left over, so I thought I may as well spray it. Now, unfortunately I didn't have enough in the end, but luckily as well, it was only a tiny bit that I didn't get. So other items like the back that I'm going to be putting on is going to be painted in a different shade of green, but I'll get to that in a minute. So this was all painted, as I said, pre-hand. I sprayed it in the back garden, and once it was dry, it was just a matter of putting it together. So the lights, the nameplate, and then the mudguards go on before it gets attached to the rear arch of the mudguard. As you can see, that was just a simple case, applying some cement and sticking it on. So going back to the other part of the build, so I'm putting on the footplates. First of all, painting them in Aquacolor 99 aluminium, and while that's drying, I'm going to make up the double wheels for the unit. Now, there's a little central portion you put in here to build up. Now, I don't know whether you're meant to glue these or not, but I did, because as I said before, I was going to try and make them freewheeling, but I couldn't in the end. Before I'm able to put on the mudguards and the wheels, I have to finish off the exhaust. So this is going in from the back of the engine into the main box at the side of the vehicle, and at this point this is where you find out whether the engine and other parts are in straight. So onto the mudguards now. The pins were a little bit tight, so I had to open them up by using my hobby knife, just putting them into the hole and twiddling them around until the hole became big enough to push them in. And as you can see, I had a little bit of difficulty, but I got it in the end. And next to go in was one of the storage boxes, and the footplate goes on top of the storage box, and the other mudguard was done the same principle as the first one. And for the rear mudguard, again, I didn't actually have to open up the contact points for this one. This was just a simple push on. And finally the last rear mudguard to go on. And then it was onto the wheels. Now the rear wheels, they just got pushed onto the axles quite easily. As you see them going on there, didn't require any glue, so they were free moving. And the other side, same again. You can see how easily they're going on and they're moving away quite naturally. However, the front wheels, the axle's quite small on them, and I couldn't quite get them to sit right. They kept on plopping off, so in the end I did have to glue them on, which was a shame because I would have liked all the wheels to move. And once all four wheels were on, the spare just goes on the bracket from underneath that I put on ages ago, and that's just a simple case of gluing it on. And it was onto the back housing of the unit. First of all, I had to put it on a decal. This tiny little decal goes right in the middle. I think it's optional, but I put it on. And then on the underside, I painted it all black, and it's 09 Arcorite black. And once the decal was dry, it was time to put on the real part married up to the housing. On the tail of this, there's 4 little grooves or slots that you have to paint yellow. So this is Rebel Aquacolor Yellow, number 15. I did forget to mention that this tail unit was one of the parts that I missed out on the spray print because I'd run out. So this is actually painted in Tamiya XF71, and that's cockpit green colour. And back to the middle section to make up the fuel tank. These are just 4 pieces glued together. Again, banding was in the steel colour Rebel Aqua number 91, while the main unit was aluminium 99. And once it was all dry, it was just a simple case of cementing and putting the unit together. And for this part, the fuel cap was the last to go on. It's just a tiny little part, so make sure you got your tweezers handy for this. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, it's moving on to the opposite side for the box and the top footplate. And half of this is painted in the 09 Agarite black, and then it's aluminium 99. The other opposite side that you can see on the picture there at the bottom, that was all over aluminium. Back to the tail end. Now this sits in between the two back wheels and the main frame. Now there's a little curved units meant to sit in between, but I could not get them to sit properly, so in the end I had to cut them off before placing the unit on. So I took 1 or 2 tries of drive frame before I managed to get it into position. So a lot trickier than I thought this part was going to be, but it's worth persevering with it. So now that's all dried, the foot plate's going in. Again, this is where you find out whether you put the brackets in the right position. I had to put a bit of pressure on here, hence why it's a little bit off camera, but as you can see it's in now. And lastly, for the fuel tank, now you see me put it from underneath and pulling it up. It won't go on straight because there's too much items in the way. You're going to have to hold this until it dries. So next up is the 5th wheel bracket. So the underside, that is painted in Aquacolor 09, and the top part is 99 aluminium. Well, I'll wait for those parts to dry. I'm just fitting in the bracket that's going to hold the cab together. And once that's on, it's the middle foot plate, again in aluminium number 99. And once that's in place, it's time to cement the 5th wheel onto the bracket before placing it onto the main body. Now you may have noticed that one of my boxes has slipped down. It's slightly gone off centre. I have corrected this, but I corrected it off camera. So once the bracket's on, just give it a little bit of time to dry before placing it onto the main unit. It only takes a few minutes for it to dry, so just play on. Make sure you get in to the right spot, so study it to where it goes, especially if you're going to be putting a trailer on, which I am. So that just slides on. Now this brings part 2 to a close. I hope you enjoyed it. The next part will be building the main cab. I was hoping only to get all this done in 2 parts, but it looks like it's going to be minimum 3, probably 4. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have time to watch my other videos, particularly part 1 in this, and keep your eye out for part 3. But for now, thank you, bye bye.